G'day everybody. Just wanted to talk today about the backhand, and what can I say about the backhand? Well, look, it comes down. You got to choose whether you're mainly going to be a double-handed backhand or a single-handed backhand player. Generally, you're one or the other, and both shots have their advantages. If you are just starting out, I think, especially if you're a kid, I think the double-handed backhand is a good one to take up, you know, at the start of your tennis life. Mainly because it is a very useful shot. It's very good at returning. Also, I've coached kids now for like 25 plus years, and I find that without any instruction, kids are doing the correct technique almost immediately, and you know, in their first lesson they're just playing it the right way, and what it boils down to is you need to get side on when you hit your single-handed backhand, and when you hit your double-handed backhand you open up on the shot. So you kind of open your shoulders up when you hit a double-handed backhand, and when you hit a single-handed backhand you stay a little bit more closed, although you still open your shoulders up on the higher backhand. And look, as an advanced player, I recommend you practice opening the shoulders up on a single-handed backhand as well. Because for an advanced player, you can bend your knees and almost turn every backhand into a high backhand. So with a low backhand, you can hit it like a straight drive in cricket, and you can sort of bump the ball like just a push forwards with the top spin backhand. But as an advanced player, you sort of get down low, bend your knees, and it's easy to bend your knees if you have a wide stance. So you should have, so whenever you try to bend down in tennis, put your legs far apart so that you can get down easily. If your feet are close together, it's very hard to bend down low. So if you have your wide, like just before you get at the ball, like a nice big step, if the ball is low, you can open your shoulders up in the follow through, and I think it generates a bit more topspin and generates a bit more, it's a bit more of an aggressive shot than just sort of a short stabbing push down the court, which can still generate topspin because you can push it, rip up on the back of the ball to get that ball spinning forwards. Okay, advantages of the single-handed backhand is reach. So if you're not very mobile, I'd recommend that you use a single-handed backhand, because you can hit the ball when it's further away from you, and if you're very mobile and you haven't really developed a shot yet, I'd encourage you to practice to develop a double-handed backhand, because a double-handed backhand, it's kind of a better shot, you know. And the reason why it's a better shot is you can hit the ball late, and it kind of hits through the ball rather than ripping up and brushing the ball. So like a forehand's a strong shot because it hits through the ball a little more, and you can flatten it out but still have topspin on it. Same as a double-handed backhand. A double-handed backhand, you know, is technically a left-handed forehand for a right-hander, you know. And so if you think of it like that, you can pretty much mimic a forehand's footwork to hit that double-handed shot. So with your footwork with a double-handed shot, there's a couple of ways that you can move your feet for it. You can sort of have a bit of an open stance, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle before you hit the ball. And I like lifting up the back leg when you hit that double-handed backhand, because your hips open up and swivel round, and that's an important thing with a double-handed backhand, is you don't want to feel twisted up. You can hit that backhand and feel a bit twisted up. So if you lift up the back leg, like after you've hit the ball, like, well, as you hit the ball, just lift up the back leg, even slightly before you've hit the ball, and just be on one leg, on the front leg when you hit that backhand, and you'll find that your hips just swivel around with it. The other big distinction between both shots is hitting the ball out in front. Now, when you hit the ball out in front for a single-handed backhand, it works nicely, right? But with a double-handed backhand, you try to hit the ball out in front, it doesn't work so nice. And what you've got to do is hit the ball a little bit more beside you. So contact point, I'm talking. So contact point for single, out in front. Contact point for a double-handed backhand is more beside you, all right? And the double-handed backhand tends to work a little better when you've got kind of bent arms, and the single-handed backhand, more of a straight arm, you know, straight-ish arm at least, because you're getting that ball nicely out in front, and you're getting body weight behind the ball. So yeah, so contact point is really important when you hit that double-handed backhand. You hit the ball a little bit later, and that's an advantage. In return of serve, you can hit the ball a little bit later. If they've hit a really fast one to you, you can hit the ball later. It gives you more time. The problem is when you line it up against the single-handed backhand is you've got to get closer to the ball, and that's why I'm saying, if you're not mobile, you probably want to hit a single-handed backhand, and so what you'll do is play kind of like an Eastern backhand grip. So that's with your knuckle on top and your sort of wrist behind the racket. So it's, you know, your continental grip is your wrist on top of the racket. You can hit a backhand with a wrist on top, but it's better with the wrist on top and behind the racket. So that's called an Eastern backhand, and there is an extreme a Western backhand as well, but I wouldn't recommend that too much. But you know, there are players that play with it, and players that play with an extreme Western backhand grip, they can sometimes use their forehand grip like to hit a forehand, and then just actually use the same face of the racket to hit their backhand. So they're not twisting their racket at all. It's just the one grip, forehand, and then they turn it over, and then they hit their backhand, like, you know, with their sort of like their fingers are facing the net when they hit their backhand. There are players that do that and have good backhands, but you've got to rip your backhand if you're going to play that technique. You've got to go after it. You don't have as much feel. I think the other flatter kind of grip, you've got a little bit more feel. You've got a bit more slap through the ball. You know, your racket, you got a bit more racket face through the ball. And so yeah, so So yeah, so if you're not that mobile, you might want to hit with a single-handed backhand, and you might want to, and you need a slice backhand. If you hit a single-handed backhand, you must have a slice and a topspin backhand. You must have both, right? But the slice backhand, you can get by with it, because again, the slice backhand you can hit late, and it's a very safe shot. It's a medium sort of swing into the ball, so you don't duff it as much, and you can hit, yeah. So it's basically single-handed backhand. You'd play with you'd hit one-hand slice and double-handed slice. With a double-handed backhand, there's a few different ways to play that double-handed backhand, but generally speaking, you hit the ball pretty late, and you can play it differently when the ball's high, and you can play it differently when the ball's low. So when the ball's low, you can drive it a bit more with topspin and have that nice rainbow follow through. The racket travels like a rainbow. But when the ball's high, you can sort of slap at it a little bit and sort of aim a little bit more like almost like a smash, and get your body weight coming into it. You can sort of punch it. A lot of double-handed backhands players, they can play that at the net when the ball's short. They can hit a backhand smash, and single-handed players, they can't really hit a backhand smash. It's like, well, you can, but you sort of got to put your back to the ball, and it's like a flick, you know, like your back's to the net, and you sort of flick it behind you. Pat Rafter was very known for that backhand smash, but it's not the same as a double-handed backhand smash. That they can hit it like at a medium height shot, where, like say, Pat Rafter would have played more like a high volley if it was like at a medium height, and he would have hit his backhand smash if it was like going over his head high, and that's the difference. And so if you're a double-handed player, a lot of double-handed players will still hit the ball with one hand when they're stretched wide and go for a big passing shot with a topspin backhand. But a lot of single-handed players won't do the other way around. Like, they won't hit a single and then all of a sudden hit a double-handed backhand. So it's sort of, a lot of double-handed players will also be able to hit a single-handed shot. But I think if you've got time to put into the game, I think there's probably more of an advantage to being a double-handed backhand player than a single-handed backhand player. There are some, you know, like Tommy Haas, not Tommy Haas, what's the other guy, the Austrian dude, can't think of him at the moment, great backhand on him, it'll come to me. Anyway, he stands back 4 meters back. Dominic Thiem. He stands about 4 or 5 meters back, and he just drives that return. And he's got a great backhand on him, really great single-handed backhand. And so I think there's a bit more free flow into the single-handed shot. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's a big debate, double-handed versus single-handed. That's one tick in the box that a single-handed shot has, is that you get a lot of momentum, easy momentum in a single-handed backhand. You can turn those shoulders and really rip through, you know. And with a double-handed backhand, you just feel sometimes it's a little bit more restricted to get that fast swing in your body. But that's why, like, if you've done it since you were a kid, you know the feel of really ripping it, you know, really whipping over. It's like a forehand. It's effortless to whip over around. And for a single-handed backhand player to then just go, okay, I'm going to hit double-handed now, and it just all feels uncomfortable. And the reason why it feels uncomfortable is they kind of try to hit the ball at the same contact point, which is different. They've got to hit it later. It's not going to work if they hit it out in front. But for a single-handed player, it's just normal to hit the ball out in front. The exception to that rule is a slice backhand. Remember, when you hit a slice backhand, it's really important to meet the ball beside you more than out in front. And the other thing with the slice backhand is you have your wrist up, and you start with it up and you finish with it up. And it's called locking the wrist. You can hit a slice without locking it. You know, you can have it start. It has to start up, but it doesn't necessarily have to finish up. But it's nice to. I think it works better if it does. But there are shots where you might say hit a slice lob, where you might let the wrist break a little. You know, let it. You know, don't lock it. You might let it just sort of brush around the side of the ball and put it up. You know, maybe take the pace off it a little bit. You know, like having softer hands on the ball. But that's the way when you hit a slice, you can bite into it, punch it, and with firm hands. You can also spin it a bit more and float the ball. But remember, it's dangerous. You know, they can step in and attack it if you're going to float it. You know what I mean? Like, but you know, sometimes just to get the ball back or a bit of a change up, you know, it's worth playing if you can get it a bit deep. What else is there about the topspin backhand? You've got to hit a close stance off a single. So you kind of, off a single, you don't lift up the back leg. So make sure you plant your feet, and you might hop. You know, you can sometimes hop into it. You know, you stay down low and just be weight forwards into the ball. You can get body weight into a single-handed shot. A close stance is when you sort of step across. So you don't step straight towards the net. You step across toward, if you're right-handed, you're stepping to the left, like a 45-degree angle, stepping across. So that gets you nice and side on. But at the end of the day, what's more important is getting side on. So your feet can be, they call it the unit turn. And what it is like you can be sort of standing in a ready position. So your feet are facing forwards, and you can turn your waist at just up the top half of your body only and leave your feet the way they are. That gets you side on and allows you to sort of have a bit of a straight arm when you make contact with the ball. So if that's the thing about getting a good shoulder turn into a backhand, is if you don't get good shoulder turn, what you need to do is then lift your elbow up to sort of get your racket face around. And that's why beginners, you'll see them hit this backhand with a high elbow, and that looks horrible. That doesn't do much either. You'll see the good players get their feet in position early, get turned around, get nice and side on, and rip the ball down the court with lovely, nice long drives. So it's really important to get your shoulders turned. Backhand volley, I guess I haven't spoken about a backhand volley. A backhand volley, hold a continental grip, that's the hammer grip. Wrist up, start with your wrist. Your wrist has got to try to keep your wrist up all the time. So when it's low, you bend your knees, get down low to play the volley. You punch the ball at impact. You squeeze your hand at impact. You know, just squeeze it, boom, punch, punch. You know, you can sometimes put a little bit of underspin, like a little bit of cut on a backhand volley. But generally you're hitting it pretty flat with your wrist up, and it doesn't work if you don't turn your shoulders. So with a volley, you turn your shoulders, and with a volley you meet that ball out in front. There are double-handed backhand players that can maybe hit the ball maybe a little later, and not have to necessarily even use a continental grip because they've got two hands on the racket. So that's an exception to the rule. But generally, players will hit with a continental grip, which is a wrist on top of the racket, to hit that backhand volley. Now they'll get nice and side on and punch into the ball. When they get side on, it allows them to have a pretty straight arm and it's strong. If the ball comes really fast at your body, then you don't have time to get side on. So what you might do is then protect your body with a backhand volley, and the backhand volley's got a nice high elbow, just a boom, quick reflex. You know, just defend yourself. Try to get the ball back in. You know, if they're coming up to the net, you might want to backpedal a little bit and to give yourself a bit more time. That pretty much concludes backhand. What I got to say about it. You know, I didn't cover the backhand lob, but a backhand lob, slice backhand's a good backhand lob. That's a thing. A double-handed backhand player can hit a topspin backhand lob, and that's an extra shot that they have over the single-handed backhand player. A single-handed backhand player can play a topspin lob, but they've got to have all the time in the world. A double-handed backhand player can have no time. The ball's coming pretty quick at them or something like that, and they get over the top. A lot of topspin. It's like a forehand. So that's a bit of an advantage. Yeah, so I hope that helps your tennis. And yeah, I'm glad to help. Okay, see you later all.